The new chapter of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest is out, and oh boy, I ain't gonna lie, this chapter wasn't it. It wasn't bad in no means, it was actually a pretty solid chapter, but compared to the previous ones and the build-up we received in the last chapter specifically, it really felt like a letdown. You know how I always say how Mashima and Ueda are on a peak chapter streak? Well, that streak just ended. It is always like that. They drop like 10 chapters of straight fire and sensation, then one chapter what is like okay. But as I said, this chapter still wasn't bad. It was just not that great. It had some good moments, but on overall it was just okay. Juvia launches an attack on Gate just for Gate to open a new portal, revealing that outside his hellish gate, he also has the gate of Fifth Element. I hate this character's name. What he uses to absorb Juvia's entire attack and make an entire tree rain down on her from above. He also opens a third one what he uses to absorb large quantities of wood from Alderon. Guys, I think Mashima forgot that Alderon is a dragon, so you wouldn't be able to absorb his wood or break his wood without Dragon Slayer magic. Well, whatever. And through a fourth portal, blast Juvia point blank with a fire attack from behind. Unfortunately for him, Juvia is made out of water, so she is immune to physical damage, especially fire ones. Few weeks ago someone said Juvia's water body became useless. That statement didn't age well. Anyway, Juvia quickly launches a counterattack on Gate, just for Gate to open a fifth portal, how many he has, directly on his own body, revealing that he himself is also a Gate. Top 10 fairy tale plot twist. He uses the fifth portal to avoid getting hit by her, while also trying to absorb Juvia directly. While Juvia tries to resist getting sucked in fully, Meredy notices that a wooden hand came out from another portal, the exact same time Juvia's hand got sucked in. And when Juvia pulled her hand out, the wooden hand disappeared back into the portal. With this, Juvia, using her few remaining brain cells, what aren't used to think about great, figured out how Gate's power works. By, and I'm not even joking here, throwing dirt at Gate. Juvia really did the meme. It appears that Gates, Fifth Element's Gates, I hate this character's name, work by sucking in one of the fifth elements, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, then turning them into the next element in order, through another portal. Water into wood, wood into fire, fire into earth, earth into metal, and metal into water. That doesn't make any sense. So the wood what Juvia got hit by was her own water attack turned against her, while the fire was the wood Gate absorbed. This essentially makes Gate a perfect counter to anyone who uses elemental magic, especially with how hard it is to hit him with the portals constantly being in front of him, as he can just absorb attacks and send its opposite back, or absorb the user itself when it comes to direct combat. And since humans are made out of water, they're gonna turn into wood. The ability itself is really cool, and I like how this time Mashima actually explained how it works, unlike in the case of Blade and Bird. He definitely should do this more often, especially when it comes to more complex powers. But I do have to say that this magic doesn't feel like black magic. It is definitely handy and relatively strong, but it isn't really broken or something that breaks the law, or is dark, or forbidden. I would say it is pretty much just a basic magic. And Woke knows, maybe it is. We do know that these demons are black wizards, but that doesn't mean every magic they use have to be black magic. So this could pretty much be just a regular magic Gate uses beside his black magic. But his Realm of the Dead magic on the other hand, oh boy, That thing does feel like black magic. It outright sucks the life out of his targets, turning them into corpses till they crumble to dust. If he gets the timing right. So even if his 5th element gates aren't dark enough, his best move definitely compensates for that. And he demonstrates that right away by opening it again and attempting to drag both Juvia and Meredy in, trying to drain their life. Unfortunately for him, Juvia already figured out how Gate's power works, at least the 5th element one, and easily slips away, then proceeds to cut down a giant log and shove it into one of the portals. Then by arranging all the other portals to feed into each other, she manages to create a large amount of water. Where the 2 extra portals came from? Taking control of this water, she calls upon the power of Lucy and Aquarius, turning into a mermaid. You can't make this up, she turned into a mermaid. How cool is that? Using her newfound power, Juvia attacks Gate with all of her water, forcing him to absorb it all. Gate says that this is pointless, as she is just throwing more water at him to absorb, as he is a Gate himself. But this plays right into Juvia's hands, as she shut all of the portals closed with her water, preventing anything from coming through, leaving all that water to build up inside Gate, inflating him like a Twitter artist does Sonic. All that water build up inside Gate resulted in Gate bursting. With this, Juvia has taken out Gate without a single scratch on her. Juvia once again shown that she is a woman you don't wanna mess with unless you want to end up 6 feet under. She outright murked Gate in a cold blood in one of the most gruesome ways possible. Each day, that one video I made ages better and better. Craziest part is, Juvia didn't even summon Lucy's magic or Aquarius's. She pretended. She straight up used her own delusion and jealousy to give herself a new form. And oh boy did Ueda cook with this design. Hands down the best part of the chapter. Mermaid Juvia looks freaking awesome. Ueda really dropped a banger artwork this chapter. Now with that out of the way, this chapter was kinda a letdown. Juvia taking Gate out so fast without a scratch was pretty disappointing. We didn't see Juvia in proper action for nearly a decade, so we expected more. At least 2 chapters or 1.5 chapter long fight. So she folding Gate under a chapter was pretty anticlimactic, especially after that grand entrance she did last chapter. So Juvia winning so fast after all those years of not being in a solo fight was definitely a letdown. Especially with how Gate got hyped up as a big shot with being compared to Hades and all that hype just to get popped like a balloon. Textbook definition of low diff. Gate definitely did not live up to his hype. I just wish this fight would have lasted a bit longer for both Juvia's and Gate's sake. I would say Juvia's strategy queen was still pretty cool though, especially with the combination of her new delusion form. The chapter got carried hard by the comedy, the strategy, while Mermaid Juvia was a cherry on the top. If not for these bailing the chapter out, it would have been an all-out disappointment. I wonder if all the other fights will last just as much long. If yes, then the Zex is cooked. At least I hope Zero will last longer. But we have to see. So far the Zex are pretty disappointing. This chapter was okay, had some peak moments, but personally wouldn't call the entire chapter peak. But you know damn well, Mashima and Ueda about to start a new peak streak soon. But what do you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section below. This was Space G, don't forget to subscribe, and see you guys in space. Bye!